welcome to the show where it's wrestling with entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, and previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., flying solo today, but it was a good week for Wrestling With, um, as we interviewed Devin Carter on Monday, um, Corey Cash Money McHenry on Tuesday, and Don Fernando on Wednesday. Incredible interviews. Definitely go check those out if you haven't already. But always looking towards the future. This upcoming Tuesday, we have Nord Arnheid on the show. Definitely a great interview with somebody from the AAPW family. If anybody knows our interviews from there, um, we talk about deathmatch wrestling, getting into pro wrestling as a whole. Um, his tag team partner, his rivalries, and so much more. And then on Wednesday, we have um, Jesus de Sofia from the Wrestle League part of things. And he's pretty much done everything in Wrestle League. He's won literally all three titles. We talk about that. We talk about um, his issues with his tag team partner, how they came together, how they disbanded. Um, we go all through that. We go through an injury early on in his career, issues with J.R. Lindsay and Kid Lat. We also talk about some cool entrances he's done as the Joker and as Darth Maul. So there's definitely a lot to look forward to in these upcoming interviews for sure. And you could always look to our social media at Wrestling with E, out on Extra and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Now, very late to the game. For anybody that's wondering why Wrestling with Wit went on MIA for the last couple of weeks, I did fall ill. I was pretty sick for the last couple of weeks, but now feeling a bit better. Um, this last week of wrestling did not help my illness, but I feel good enough to talk to you guys for a bit about everything wrestling related this last week. So, it was a great day. It was a great week for wrestling because we are wrestling with WWE Night of Champions. That's right, we're not doing news this week because there was so many fucking wrestling shows last week. Like, legitimately, whose idea was it to put on 6 wrestling events in 42 hours? Whoever this man is should be sacked. And then sack the good man that was sacked. But yeah, it primarily started with Night of Champions. Yeah, because it was in the afternoon, early, late morning, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was last, it was last Saturday. It took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in the Kingdom Arena, and I feel like this was mostly on par with what you would see from a WWE show. Um, I mean, it was okay. I wouldn't say anything was out of this world or anything like that. I would say that it was pretty tamed, pretty, they don't really go all out when it comes to the wrestling side of things, when it comes to the Saudi shows. And I feel like we kind of saw that here. So just kind of was what it was, I would say. But let's get into it. First match, King of the Ring tournament final. Obafemi defeated Jey Uso in 7 minutes 56 seconds. And if I'm being honest, like, Oba gave Jey Uso way too much offense. Like, he did not look that weak against Brock Lesnar. So why the fuck was he bumping for Jey Uso? At the end of the day, they made the right call. The right guy won. Oba took the crown, made the most sense. Next night, well, 2 nights later, Monday Night Raw, he's like, "No, bro, I'm not going after the WWE Championship. The the belt will be there. I'm gonna fight Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, why have him win King of the Ring if you're not going to pull the trigger?" I I personally feeling is they're blocking Oba because they've had Roman for the last couple of months. Roman said that he was going to be here, full time, and I'll give him this. He's primarily been there. He's been doing a good job, but they want him as champion right now. And maybe it's a bit of politicking on Roman's side as well. That's just speculation on my part. The bloodline hasn't been as strong, without him. And now, Jay, Jimmy, Fatu is all, and even Solo is getting, you know, more screen time than they have in quite some time. They'll say, "Oh, they're not ready to pull the trigger on Obafemi. He's not ready." Bitch, if you would have put in Obafemi to come out the night after Mania to wrestle Roman Reigns, have from Obafemi say, "I retired Brock Lesnar last night. I want a title match right now." And Obafemi beat Roman Reigns that night for the championship. Nobody would have batted an eye. Nobody would have said it was the wrong call or he wasn't ready or anything like that. They would have, it would have blown the roof off of that place. People would have been into it, and nobody, I don't think anybody would have had a problem with it. I would say if Oba, let's say they wanted to hold off on Oba because Roman just won the title. Okay, well, SummerSlam. Nobody would have an issue with Oba beating Roman at SummerSlam. We're not seeing it there either. They need to pull the trigger on Oba. It it's what the people want at this point, and it just don't make sense. Wasn't really that great of a match, but the right person won. 3 1/4. Now we have Io Sky defeating Liv Morgan to capture the Queen of the Ring crown in 14 minutes 56 seconds. Before the match started, Danhausen cursed Liv Morgan. So I feel like this match had an uphill climb to kind of begin with. Like, I mean, it felt very obvious that Io was, the main candidate. Like, you could maybe make the argument that Liv, challenges Rhea at SummerSlam, but primarily Io was. I kind of feel like everybody knew Io was going to get the nod. And then you have, right before the match, Danhausen cursing Liv. Nothing horrendous happened to her in the match, but, you know, you're kind of premeditating, a loss for her. Or that, doesn't look good for Danhausen. So, like, there was so much going against this match to begin with, and I still feel like the girls actually delivered a solid match. I think that Liv and Rio worked really hard. They had a really good match. It would have been better if the crowd was more into it because, Saudis, these they don't even want to see their girls drive, let alone fight. So, you know, but no, I think in the environment with everything that was against this match, it still succeeded. And it tells you how good of wrestlers Io Sky and Liv Morgan are that they could have such a good match, you know, climbing an uphill battle. So good on them for that. Um, Match of the night? Yeah, I feel comfortable doing that. 4 stars. Now we have Seth Rollins defeating Braun Breaker in a solid steel cage in 19 minutes 4 seconds. Um, it was okay. It didn't feel a lot of heat during the match. Just kind of went through the motions, if I'm being honest. There was a lot of moments that didn't necessarily make sense to me as well. And I felt like the ending made Braun look weak rather than strong. Like he, chastised Rollins for, going for the kill, but he didn't. He seemed he seemed responsive enough, like he could have countered that, mega curve stomp. I don't know. I didn't think the match did Braun any favors. It's funny that we're at a point where, people were like, oh, Braun Breaker, he's going to be a future world champion, future main event, WrestleMania main eventer. And now we're at the point where, how can we salvage Braun Breaker's career? It's insane to me. But I feel like if you're putting that much pressure on a guy, when is he gonna win a title? And you're actively saying he's gonna win a title, and then he does jack shit in more than a year. Yeah, it's been over a year since he joined Division. Then it's maybe best to kind of pull back and rethink things. Some people are saying that they still want the vision to go on and that they could make it fresh and work, while other people are saying it's time to take this behind the barn and kill it. Um, the only thing for sure is that they want Paul Heyman to continue working with Breaker. I get it. Braun needs a crutch at this point, and Paul's a good crutch. If they do close the vision down, I do hope that they keep Paul with Bronson as well. Bronson and Paul worked really well together, if I'm being honest. Like, the dynamic and the chemistry was a lot better between the two of them than Paul and Breaker. But I'm definitely in the camp that the division needs to die at this point. We don't need division. It served no masters. Nobody came out of it looking great. It fucking destroyed Logan Paul's heat, and that's saying something because Logan Paul is the most hated man in WWE. So yeah, match. 3 stars. I feel comfortable with that. WWE United States Championship match. Trick Williams with Little Yachi defeated Ricky Saints in 10 minutes 43 seconds. Wasn't really feeling this match. It didn't seem like the crowd was really feeling this match either. And kind of just was what it was, if I'm being honest. Um, didn't really make sense for Ricky to be so over on Trick and getting heat on him. Like, he should have played more of like the chicken shit, heel and kind of bump for Trick, and they just didn't book it that way. And what we got was a half-baked scenario, I would say. I don't know. I didn't necessarily like this match. 2 7/5. Now we have Tiffany Stratton defeating Jade Cargill to retain the Women's United States Championship, 7 minutes 40 seconds. Okay match. Um, did what it needed to do and the time allowed. Didn't overstay its welcome. One of the better matches on the card. um, let's give it 3. Then we have the main event, the last match, triple threat match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Sami Zayn defeated Cody Rhodes and Gunther in 18 minutes 38 seconds. I thought this was a good match. I think everybody worked well together. Everybody was cohesive. Um, and I find it funny that people are going to say, "Oh, we hated Cody. the The product's so stale. Give us something new." And then we were given Sami Zayn to shake things up, and people are like, "Oh, why did you give us Sami Zayn? Oh, Sami Zayn's dumpster fire. Sami Zayn sucks. Why'd you do that?" Like, you just can't win either way. If I'm being honest, I think giving Sami the championship was the right call. I think for where he is as the character stands, it made the most logical sense. Um, where he is, and I mean, and they booked it in the best way possible as well. I mean, he won in, Saudi, where obviously his whole gimmick is he's underappreciated. He's the good last real good guy, and everybody's booing him. But in this match, he got cheered because he had home field advantage. And I think that all kind of worked well for them. I mean, if you were ever going to do it, it was going to be this match. So, I'm low-key happy for Sami. I think he deserves it, you know. Kind of wish Kevin had a title reign as well. Only, Universal level. Um, so yeah, it was still, I will say this, it was one of the better matches on the card. It definitely had that surprise factor and that pop factor. So I will give this 3.5. Show as a whole. Mm, I want to give it a dumps in the middle, but I don't think that there's ever going to be a a time when I think, yeah, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch this match or anything like that with this show, which is most Saudi shows, if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna give it a thumbs down in that regard. That will conclude our coverage of WWE Night of Champions.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.